Welcome to Sin Silk Failure, a podcast about watching marathon die. I'm one of your hosts, Stubby Stan, and here are my fellow runners.
Hey everybody, I am Monny. So happy to be here for a really exciting episode to talk about vault breakers. Really excited also to have Stubby Stan joining us again to co-host. And of course, we're also joined by the third member of our illustrious running crew, Robomantis. Hello, Robomantis.
Hello, guys. How you both doing?
Doing great, man.
I'll be
Good. Well,
honest, I've
for
been spending a little more time on Alpha Halo
Right.
than Tau Ceti 4 the past week or so, but you know.
do you feel disoriented? Do you feel like maybe the environments are shifting a little bit? The inclement weather on Alpha Halo is different from the inclement weather on Tau Ceti 4.
Yeah, I would say the main difference is it kind of feels like the designers of the Alpha Halo installation wanted the ring to have inclement weather,
Weird.
whereas on Marathon or on Tau Ceti, a little more organic. But
Yeah.
the ring's
No,
weather systems, they do seem natural, not artificial. So yeah.
Well, they were cloud seeding, clearly in on the Halo. Yeah.
Yeah. I think well, the whole thing is seated.
Right.
Uh, and that is our hilarious bit for the week, as you all could tell. So for everyone, we are moving to more of a bi-weekly release for this podcast. We're trying to do basically 7 episodes a season in true Bungie fashion. We think that's not only like a good breakdown of being able to do content throughout the season, but also, yeah, just honoring that special number 7 that Bungie loves so much. So moving forward, we're probably going to be every other week until the end of season 2. And then in season 3, we'll figure out the pace a little bit differently. Obviously, we started halfway through season 2. So season 3, the cadence might be a little different. But yeah, that's what we're aiming for here is 7 episodes per season. We're doing sort of a episode-based release rather than a season-based release or whatever Destiny to move to in the latter years. The format of the show, as always, is we're doing a little bit of an introduction here, and then we're actually going to go take a running break. So we're going to go play the game. We encourage you to do the same. Pause the podcast, or if this is released while Vault Breakers is still going, and you want to listen to the podcast while you play a little bit of Vault Breakers, that is totally fine. And Vault Breakers is going to be the topic of the week. So we have basically been playing for about 2 weeks at this point in time. That's the entirety of this initial experimental period. And we are going to give you all our thoughts as soon as we come back from the running break. So we will see you all on Tau Ceti 4 and talk to you all very soon.
All right. Get your kits.
Welcome back, runners. We hope you had a wonderful running break. As always, this podcast is about celebrating things dying. I hope you died once or twice on your runs during the running break. And we're also here to honor the death of Big Pussy from The Sopranos, who sadly died as we are recording this, or hopefully a little before we were recording this. I don't want to think that we were responsible.
Right?
Yeah.
He reanimated and came back and then died again, just as you were listening to this podcast. All right. So,
Well, another death on my conscience added to the list. Our first segment of the show is always the state of marathon, and what better way to do that than to take a look at the Steam charts. The Steam charts are not all that different from where they were when we last recorded. As of right now, it's saying we have about 4,100 players, with a peak from the last 24 hours of about 6,100, which is pretty much in line with, I think, what we recorded with last episode. I guess the one thing that we have a little bit of a disadvantage of moving to this twice a week format is we're missing that really, really high peak of a couple weeks ago, where I think it got up to around 14 or 15,000.
Yeah, I've got it up here. So, like, on the day that Vault Breaker released, so Tuesday, July 21st, they did go up to 14,000 in, like, the afternoon, evening, almost up to 15,000. So that's a good, like 3 or 4x jump.
Yeah.
But it really, I was watching it pretty closely that day and that week, and it really just didn't really sustain that at all for any length of time. Over the next couple days, it drops down, like you said, back into like kind of more of the current peak. I was like a little bit expecting to see sort of a bump on the weekend, like the first weekend after Vault Breaker had come out, and maybe a little word of mouth was happening and stuff like that. And the weekend wasn't terrible. It was up more like 5,000 or 6,000 than it has been. I guess Saturday was like kind of 7,000 or 8,000, but by the next week, we're back to pretty standard like 4,000 or 5,000 player count. So it made a dent, but that dent seems to have been swiftly, ding-doctored away. So.
Yeah, and just for context, when we look at like when season 2 released, obviously, again, as we've talked about, you're always going to get a big bump on these seasonal updates, these mid-season updates with any extraction shooter. I mean, this is true for just any live service game. Whenever there's a new content release, you're going to get a bump. But when season 2 released, they had a peak of about 40,000. And again, that's just on Steam. So you think maybe there's, 60, 70,000 people playing, across the entire landscape, including consoles and things like that. And they had a week where they were in the, high 30s, 20s, etc. And, over like a week and a half, 2 weeks, they dropped down to around 14 or 15,000, which is the peak that we're talking about, hitting for a few days during this most recent update. So, while it's always great to see a big increase, and, we're glad that they're, would triple the amount of people playing the game for a period of time, the numbers are also still just very, very small. I mean, 14 or 15,000 still just is very small when you compare it to even, the highs of Marathon, or the recent highs of Marathon.
Well, I want to say two things. One, anecdotally, I want to say that I was responsible for, at least partially responsible for, helping raise the player count. Because through my evangelism of this game that I've learned, is a new love of mine, I got one of my friends to take, to actually start playing the game. And so we've got another runner that's out there, doing the damn thing. So that part is good. But the other thing that actually listening to you, Robomantis, that I wonder is like, what is a good player count for Marathon? What's a realistically good player count for Marathon? Where would the game need to be in order for you to feel like, yeah, it's dying, but it's not in ICU anymore. It's kind of in the, it's in the upper floors of the area where the, people come and feed it mush every couple of days, get sponge baths. Like, where would that number be for you?
And I think, realistically, we'll see what happens, in a month or two with season 3. But I sort of think this, from a business perspective, obviously we don't know a ton about the financials, but I think we can agree that to a certain degree, when Sony bought Bungie, they maybe had way overblown expectations for, how Bungie as a company between Destiny and Marathon was going to perform. The
I think it was like
financial
$750 million of too high of expectations or something. Like it was close to that number, right?
Right. And like the idea that you're with these two games, you're gonna, make that stuff up. I mean, like even if they're selling, an expansion or an update for $100 per year, like to make up $750,000, like that is a lot of people who need to play.
Yeah,
750 million.
Right.
Like that's a ton of
is
people.
a lot, right? But yeah.
750 million is like an insanely high number.
I know when this game came out and when, Marathon like death gloating became its own little genre of internet posts, there was a lot of talk about like, look, you don't really know what Sony, like nobody really knows what their measurement for success is, right? Like, is the goal to have Marathon have 1 million players, or is it to like prove that they can be this successful live service studio and then make the next big thing for make Concord again, only not have the results of it's just like was never super clear, and it was hard to gauge what success or failure would look like, right? But then, I mean, Sony literally wrote down or what it took a loss on, like basically they declared financially that Bungie was not worth that 700 whatever million that they had paid for it, right? And so now it's like even more of a murky question of sort of like, what does success look like? Like I don't know if they're even hoping at this point to make any money on regular, rewards pass users or purchasers, or if at this point they are just going to be happy if they can keep the game alive. But I mean, there's a lot of people working on this game still despite all the layoffs. So I don't know, I just have no idea what the break-even point is to make this thing work, right? And it kind of seems like the last remaining lever is like free to play, and they really don't want to do that.
Well, and it just kind of brings into question like, okay, like if this is the death of this game is financially motivated, like how are they trying to make money? Like, let's say we do get, another peak where we hit back up in the 40,000s, season 3 launches and it saves the game in terms of like, getting those user counts up really, really high. Like those people presumably have already bought the base game. I mean, maybe then you're making some money on, like people purchasing, Lux or whatever the currency is, and buying skins and stuff like that. But like, is that enough? Like if, 60,000
right. Yeah, I don't know what the
people...
standard proportion of like whales in a live service game is, but like, yeah, it's right.
Well, right. And you have to assume that the people who are already love this game and spending a ton of money on it are kind of we're already here,
What you've got to wait for are the Family Guy crossover DLC skin packs to release, and then that will make a shitload of money, and everything will be solved.
I have like wondered whether there does appear to me to be a tension, and you've even like a couple times they've even had like some weird bugs with the skins. I don't think there's ever been an outcry yet of anything being like not appropriate in the game fiction, but this game leans so hard into its, like, even I have trouble imagining how they're going to keep coming up with skins that feel meaningfully different from the existing skins while staying within the aesthetic that they've created. I already feel like some of the shells, it's a little hard to tell a couple of the different Destroyer skins from a couple of the different Sentinel skins already, and like to stay true to what they've created with this game. I don't know. It's like they've given themselves like a fairly small sandbox to play in, which seems like it exacerbates the problem, right? Like, I don't know, but like people have to be buying yes, I do want to play as Nick Cage and like people have to buy this stuff, right? Or else they wouldn't do it. It has to make financial sense for them. And if Marathon's aesthetic is essentially boxing all that out, that could, you're right, that could be an actual limiting factor for the game's profitability, especially from the perspective of a executive suite that's detached from the actual gaming community.
and it's kind of a lore issue, right? I think about, so this game is perfectly set up to create, right, because you've got these corporations, you've got these factions that are essentially these alien, spacefaring corporations that have their own kind of ecosystems and their own histories that we're supposed to either directly glean from the information that we're getting in between our runs, or kind of headcanon imagine based on the information that we have there. What would be great is if they implemented some of the stuff that you saw from like Helldivers, where there aren't necessarily advertisements in that game, but there aren't not advertisements in that game, where you see like video vignettes of different things, like, so you know that this world exists above and beyond what you're doing in the game, fighting the bugs and the robots and all that other stuff. If Marathon was able to incorporate some of the things that some of these corporations have that are like, ancillary parts of their corporation or whatever their movement is, that could be advertised within the game, that would give you credence for different types of skins for your shells, right? Maybe there is a shell that you get from New Cal, who is like, they're like the the agriculture people. Maybe there's one where you have like ivies along your body or something like that, that will allow you to camouflage a little bit better in different locations. Or like whatever, like maybe there's a mascot for these, for the different factions that would give you
Dude,
access
if I could
to different
get
shells.
a skin that lets me play as a worm, as a silk worm, like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm there.
Right.
But that's a good point too. If I'm not mistaken, all of the custom shells have like a whole page of lore entry for it, of
Right.
like runners favor this variant, which was developed as a industrial blah blah blah. It's like,
Right.
But that's really cool, you guys, but like, can you really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so I think they have a bad way of, they need work on delivering lore to the player. But also I think they need to do a better job of delivering aesthetic changes to the player. To your point, T-Money, is that it's hard to tell the difference between one shell and another, and even within that, you still have that issue where, like, for me, I'm looking at the shells, and I'm still a neophyte when it comes to this game, but when I look at them and I look at the shells and the differences in the shells, it's like, oh, okay, well, in this quadrant, that shell color is black, but in this one, it's purple, right? Like that's not,
this one is like a matte purple.
Right. And yeah, that's not enough of a difference if the goal again is to figure out ways to monetize this game for Bungie so that they can continue to keep making the game, then they've got to be able to figure out ways to be a little bit more distinct when it comes to that stuff.
I have this has opened up like two things for me. The first, you talked about putting ads in games, and like when we're talking about like sponsorships, like, putting John Wick in Marathon, like that would totally break the immersion and stuff like that. Right. This is a very, very niche thing for me, but like as a runner, this game should be a shoe sponsorship game. Like Nike should be paying to put their shoes on your runner's feet. You know what I mean? ASICS, there are so many cool shoe designs out here right now. There is so many, like, the runner aesthetic. Running right now is in this very, like, consumerist, like, every running influencer has an entire wall of, like, 100 shoes. It like, fits in with, like, the theme of, like, waste and disposability.
Dude.
And, like...
Yes, within 24 hours of like starting to play this game, I was envisioning the actual physical, cross-branded shoe that I wanted, right? Like this
Right.
awesome neon orange and like vivid blue, like with, you know, hideous yellow laces or something like that. And you're exactly right. That would totally fit. It would feel right at home and probably even a little bit still modern in like the world of like how running, you know, that's all very in all that vibrancy and, you know, yeah.
Like running shoes already have, like, I almost wonder if to a degree when they were doing all their design work, like they looked at running shoes because like they've been in this sort of weird plasticky, rubbery,
Right.
silkwormy sort of aesthetic for a long time. Like bright colors, fluffy, like the Vandal shoes, like Vandal looks like she's wearing like a recovery shoe for like a marathon runner where like you're doing your easy miles after your really, really hard run. Like it's a big, fluffy, plump shoe.
Yeah. And a lot of the designs like running shoes do this cool thing of like contouring to your body in certain places, but then accentuate, like changing the shape in other places, which is like totally how Marathon does their shell designs as well. Like you can tell they're recognizably like a person, kind of like organic, but there's also places where it's like, oh no, actually here, you know, we ignored form because function.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it the other way, but like within the game. But I'm totally ready to go rock some marathon running shoes.
So
I would drop $300 on one of those for sure.
Whoa, hey, okay, that's wonderful. Congratulations, you go ahead and do that. I will say that I will not. I'd be willing to drop maybe 300 cents on it. But as both a basketball fan and a Knicks fan, I have dropped in the chat for you guys a couple of images of the New York Knicks captain and Finals MVP Jalen Brunson, and he wears exclusively Kobe Bryant shoes, so Kobe's, but his line of Kobe's, when you started talking about it, exactly accentuates what you're talking about, right? So he wears colors that are, I guess the best way to describe this colorway is the Statue of Liberty, right? So when the something that has been bronzed or copper starts to oxidize and it turns into that neon kind of green, like that bluish green, that's exactly what a lot of his shoes are, or bright orange. Again, these are colors that live, right? They are right at home within the confines of Marathon, and these aren't even running shoes, but yeah, like you said, running shoes have this. So yeah, a partnership with a shoe manufacturer would be a great one for them. I just don't know that a shoe manufacturer would be like, is this worth our time? Are we going to spend money on, doing some cross promotion with this game that seems to be dying? So they got to figure that part out first. But if they could, this is I think a thing waiting for them to explore and exploit.
Well, and Aaron Judge did a Destiny shoe. He had an Under Armour Destiny shoe.
Right.
Because he was a big gamer. So this is what they need to do. They need to get Aaron Judge. He's hurt
Marathon.
right now. He's not
doing anything. Yeah.
Get Aaron Judge on Marathon. Get him a shoe. The game is saved. I think that's the way to go. There
you go. That's what you need to do. We've
so
done it. We've saved it.
I don't know who Aaron Judge is. What was your second thing that you said you wanted to talk about that?
I think, the other approach, right? Because I agree, like, you want to preserve the aesthetic, you want to preserve the lore, you want to preserve the vibe. Like something in my soul dies thinking about, having Nick Cage in this game, having Peter Griffin in this game. I almost think like we gotta go back to like 2008 and do like, when they release a new map, you have to buy it. It's a map pack. You know what I mean? Gamers obviously would lose their minds. The hate that already exists around this game would be amplified 1,000-fold. But like, I almost think that's the approach of like, hey, look, like we're working on some new content. We're not giving it to everybody. Like, if you want it, you got to buy it. and that's just the way it is.
Do you
But
want to
again,
buy?
nobody likes this idea, but I
Right.
think that's the straightforward thing to do.
Do you want to bifurcate an already small player base by doing something like that? I understand what you're saying, right? Like, hey, here's content. We need money. You want this content, pay the money.
Right.
But like, are they in a position where they could demand the money?
For
And
sure
people are
not.
like, yeah, people are going to be like, yeah, I'll pay that money.
I think, like, yeah, there's obviously a tension there, but I think you could probably charge for new decks on the marathon, like new raid experiences, essentially. And obviously, there's going to be a limit to who does that, but that's sort of, I mean, this is the precedent set by Destiny, and this is what I assume they would be trying to do with Marathon, even though I recognize it's a different type of game with different types of content. But like, if this was a smash success, I imagine that's exactly what they would be lining up to do, right? Is to start figuring out how to do a cadence where every year is a big expansion, and every 6 months or whatever is it changed a lot of times over the, but like, I really think that would be cool, the idea of charging for something. But yeah, there is I think the ship of splitting the audience has already sailed a little bit with how willing they've been with Vault Breaker to be like, cool, you can play and not even with other people, and now you can even do it solo. I think that was already a big concession to people are going to want to play this game in different ways than we sort of originally envisioned. By the way, when are we getting more decks on the marathon? Speaking of that,
that actually sounds like a good idea, Timani. Is that if you want to have stuff that's behind a paywall, let it be PVE content, right? So that way, it doesn't remove any of the PvP elements of the game. But here's our Vault Breaker, here's our raid, here's the stuff where you can do more stuff and maybe gain more experience, or maybe even gain some exclusive loot that is available, and you have it, and then you could potentially lose it.
That's a good thought.
PvP.
I mean, that also fits the exact model of a lot of games these days. Right, like Call of Duty Warzone was free, Halo Infinite multiplayer was free, but you had to buy or use Game Pass to do the campaign, and stuff like that. So that kind of fits a split that I think gamers would sort of accept, you know what I mean, and would fit into an okay, that sort of makes sense. You have me wondering if this is the reason that Vault Breaker is being so heavily labeled as an experimental mode, right? I could totally picture hey, season 3, we're back. The game is kind of fresh coat of paint, right? The core marathon experience is still here for everybody who paid their $40. But going forward, right, we're going to be adding these really cool PvE experiences. And those are going to be the thing that you can drop a little bit more money on, invite your friends to, play super casually. I don't hate this idea at all, honestly. It's really interesting.
We've solved Marathon, guys. We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Feeling better.
Yeah, well, since we've already fixed Marathon now with this, maybe we can move on to some quick good runs of the week before we dive into Vault Breakers. Because, yeah, I think we're all in agreement that Vault Breakers is an interesting choice. It's an interesting new direction they're taking it. It probably hasn't saved the game itself. But really quickly, I had a fun little run this week playing solo on Night Marsh. I've really been enjoying Night Marsh. I played a lot of Night Marsh this week just because it was what was available when I was trying to do runs on Dire Marsh. And I really, T-Money, when we talked about it a couple weeks ago, you had talked about oh, there just wasn't enough darkness. I'm finding the darkness. I'm finding the shadows. There are absolutely if you make it to the points of interest, they can be very, very bright. But there are so many places in between, where you're just moving through the shadows, and it's been really, really cool. I came upon algae ponds, and I noticed a tad was going off, right? So algae ponds has some really cool, like the lights where they're like actually like doing the algae, like they have some
Like
lights to help the algae
bioluminescence.
grow. Yeah, the algae has like a bioluminescent glow to it. Really, really cool, but otherwise like very dark. And then I see the big blue tad go off, and I'm pretty close by. So I sneak around the back very slowly, trying to like make my way towards the tad. I get up there. The runner's gone. I'm playing recon though, so I'm like, well, I have my own personal tad available. They're probably still close by. I hit my runner, my recon ultimate. I move forward, and sure enough, Gray Shield pops up. Somebody else on a free kit, which is what I was doing too. I start to move forward. I'm like, okay, I can, maybe I can ambush this person. Maybe they're aware of me now because my ping is going. And as I move forward, I see a blue shield runner pop up as well. So now it's not only, a third party situation here, but there is a runner who is, at the very least, has a way better shield than me. So I pull back a little bit. I wait. And then everything goes quiet. I hear a little bit of initial gunfire. There's bots all over, but they're not super active. Everything goes quiet. So I figure, my best approach here is the element of surprise. I think those other two runners were a lot closer to each other. They probably saw each other. So I wait. I think I might have had an energy amp that I popped, so I got my ultimate a little bit faster. But I just wait, and then I pop my ultimate again, and there's nobody there. No, just bots. No other runners. I'm really, really confused by this. So I slowly start making my way around. I don't think they both would have left. It wasn't that soon. I assumed, they would have found me, and I just posted something in the chat that I found. Do you guys want to describe what you're seeing here?
So it looks like you found two corpses like right next, like touching each other, like with two runner gear bags just sitting there for the taking. I don't know.
Their bags are like overlapping.
Yeah, they're intertwined as if they're at the time of death. Their souls were becoming one.
Well, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Once you're down and another runner's down, you know what you got to do. But
Right.
I think they died holding hands.
yeah.
So I got the benefit of that. Obviously, that blue shield person was really kitted out. I don't know how they lost to the other gray shield, but
That's cute. It's like a Romeo.
I'll
It's
take
like
it.
Right.
two different classes. From different ends of the shield
Right.
scale.
Yeah. The Montagues.
And now they're together forever.
Right. And the Capulets.
and I
So-
have all their stuff.
Yeah. So
That's
was
beautiful.
good kit.
Great kit, great run for me. I didn't have to do anything.
Nice.
Walked out of there with a blue gun, blue backpack, blue shields. Yeah, I was thrilled.
One of the things that I love about this game is how even when you lose, you can almost tell why you lost, right? And usually a lot of the times when you lose, it's because like, oh, I didn't keep my wits about me, right? Like,
I think like 99% of the time for me when I lose, it's because I didn't keep my wits about me.
right.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, hey, some shit started going down and I panicked, right? Like I was aware that the shit was about to happen, and then when it happened, I just panicked. And if I didn't panic, right, like if I just stayed composed, I could have figured a way out of this situation.
Yeah. I was just talking to our friend Shade219, who we hope to have on a future episode very soon about this, and I was describing how I feel like when I play Marathon, like 90% of the battle takes place in my head, like as I'm starting the encounter,
Right.
and it's this weird phenomenon where you can like feel feel that you're having to move quickly and make decisions quickly, but it also feels like time is slow enough, just slow enough that you have time to sort of like recognize like this might be a bad idea, right? Like my thing is always, and especially it's interesting, like Marathon has forced me to play very differently than I play a lot of other shooters. Like traditionally I'm like a get in there, do the damage, get killed, respawn, do it again kind of player, and I've never really enjoyed stuff where you can't respawn. And so obviously Marathon forces you to be very different about that. But one thing that I've noticed with Marathon is like, right, like mobility is huge, and being the one to take the initiative is huge, and it's very hard. Sentinel has changed this a little bit, but it's very hard to hunker down and safely like defend a position a lot of the times in Marathon, and it's a little bit easier usually to be the attacker and to be the aggressor. And I convince myself every time, just press the advantage. Like, yeah, your shields are down, but like so are theirs, right? Like just go a little harder, and like as long as you can take them down, right, then it doesn't matter. There's no respawning. Like you can shield up, like you can get a drone from your friend, like you can continue the game. And it's just the wrong call like 60% of the time still, you know? And I just need to learn like, oh, maybe if I get away and heal up first, like I could still press the advantage a little bit, and it's very hard for me. That's like when I first played this, I was like, I don't know if I love this whole consumables thing. You know, it's a little old school, but I do like the way that it really like you can start fresh if you can get away and you can get yourself a few seconds long enough to heal up. Like you can really turn the tables on people and like turn their advantage into your advantage, right? Because now they've like spent all their ammo and stuff ambushing you, and like
it well, I mean, one of the things that I love about it is, again, it's when you do exactly that, right? When you realize like, oh, wait a minute, hey, the person I'm fighting is potentially in the exact same position that I'm in, but I could go in there and we could both die, or I could go in there and I could die, or I can, you know, reset myself, stable myself, come at it from a different position. I'm aware that they're there, and that will gain me the advantage. But you're having that entire dialogue with yourself within like half a second.
And in Robomantis' situation, it's like you see these blue shields, right? And you make a set of assumptions, but it's also equally possible like this is some dude who like this is their first blue shield ever, and they got it as a login reward, and like they're actually terrified because they realize they've come upon two different runners, right? And that totally changes the calculus of that encounter, right? From like, oh, this blue dude's gonna stomp us, to like, let's get him, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's again, it's one of the things that I love about this game. And wish that other people could play. And actually, a run that I'll talk about really quickly is not even really a run. It's just kind of a moment. I told you, I brought a friend in. Our very first game, I bring him in. We're in perimeter. We're playing around. I'm trying to show him the ropes. And we chase down a couple of UESC. We kill some of those. He wants to just go in, Call of Duty, guns blazing, you know. And it was interesting watching that behavior and that, like, that desire change and evolve within the match.
Yeah.
Where, like, he wanted to go in, get some shots. He wanted to kill some stuff. And he got some kills. And then things shot back at him, and then he was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's what this game is all about. And we're going about, we're, filling some contracts, we're doing some stuff. And then we got into a room, we killed some UESC, he got down because he's running on open kits, so I think he's Gray Shield. And I heal him, we're ready. But as we're sitting in this room, we hear footsteps. And I'm like, oh, those are runners, right? And I still don't even really understand perimeter super well. So we were in a space where I wasn't sure if you could come from the top or just from the side. And Turns out you could just come from the side. He was in the doorway, saw a runner, got the jump on that runner. We were able to down that runner. And so we're like, all right, good. And then he's like, oh, I'm out of ammo. The second runner was coming. And we're like, oh, okay, you're out of ammo. All right, let me stand up. I got my shield. Let me stand up and block you while you figure out your stuff. And he didn't move enough. The second runner downed him just right before I stepped in the way. And because he was already firing, he downed me as well. And I would have gotten a jump on him, and we would have been okay. But in that moment, I should have thought about the fact that runner wasn't necessarily aware that I was there. And if I had moved around and flanked him, I would have been able to take both of them out, and we would have had one hell of a story as for his first run. But instead, the story was, hey, we had this first run, and he had some equipment, and he got some stuff in his kit, but then he lost all of that shit, and that was the end of it.
Which is kind of what a good first run should be,
right,
honestly.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, it was an enjoyable experience, and it was really great to watch how, like, when you understand that the game's mechanics fit a certain type of gaming play style, versus just, oh yeah, I can just button mash and play this game like any other game and I'll still have success. It kind of reminds me of playing the first Arkham Asylum, the Batman game, when you play that for the very first time and you go in and you're trying to play it like any kind of beat 'em up, and then and it's like, okay, yeah, it's fun, but it's like, there's nothing special, and then you retrain your mind like, no, bitch, you're Batman, right? And then if you start playing like Batman, then it's like, oh, holy shit, I'm Batman, and then the game really opens up.
It almost like changes the genre of that
right.
game. Like I remember playing that game and feeling like it's almost like a tactical game. Like it's almost like a turn-based, like
right.
You have to be aware of like, okay, where are the guards positioned?
Right.
How am I going to get from one move to the next
right.
to take out enough guys to then be able to do the actual beat 'em up part? And I feel
right.
like there's a degree to which, I mean, you talked about how this game reminded you of like Rainbow Six Vegas.
Right.
I feel like the tactical element of this is really good. That flank move that you're talking about, like flanks are so satisfying in this game.
Yes.
I just put out a little short that's like a compilation of some of our like, good kills and good fights over the last few weeks. Right. And the last clip on that short is the two of you fighting at Outpost. And you can see, like, Team Monny is trying to hold off two teams on a hallway, and you're, I think, downstairs. Like, you are a little bit far
yes.
away, and you can see your icon, your little just like HUD marker of where you are, slowly start to move.
Yeah, I still remember.
Team Monny takes
yes.
one of them out. It's like a trade, and then you just watch your icon come up behind.
Yes,
you take out the other runner.
Talk about that. Yes.
You finish them both, and you won the day. You come back and revive Team Money, and it's just like such of like victorious, like awesome tactical
I remember we
moment.
talked about that one, and I was like, I didn't think I wouldn't have normally engaged, but I thought the way that you had to join us was going to end up taking them from behind, and you were
yes.
like, yeah.
yeah, and I had a shotgun, and I shot those bitches. It was so satisfying. It was so satisfying, and it's exactly what I'm talking about.
You gotta be aware when you see somebody, you gotta immediately think, what mode am I playing? How many teammates are they gonna have? Where are they? It was so funny to me. We played like multiple runs in a row where like eventually, do you remember? I was just like, I'm not trying to be a dick, you guys, but like, are you guys just like not concerned about where the other runners are, or do you think that there aren't other runners?
Right.
And it was because I was like, because I'm on full on panic mode here, because we kept encountering like one guy in trios and
Right,
like a non-guy and downing him. And then, like, you guys would be like, cool, let's grab his shit and, like, go do other stuff. And I'm, like, sitting there, like, in a cold sweat, like...
His friends, where are his friends? Are you not concerned about
and the
his
answer
friends?
is nowhere, I guess.
Right,
like,
yeah.
you were right
Yeah.
to not be concerned, but I still don't understand why. But, you know.
Yeah, another game that was like that is Spider-Man. Spider-Man, the first Insomniac Spider-Man that's PS5 exclusive or PlayStation exclusive, is my game of the generation for the previous generation. I absolutely love that game. I think it did everything right. My initial problem with that game was I started playing the game like it was Batman, right? Because I had played a superhero game. That game was awesome. And I'm in there and I'm Spider-Man and I'm standing there toe to toe trying to fight people and they're kicking my ass. And I'm like, hey, idiot, I'm not Batman. I'm Spider-Man. And as soon as I started playing the game like Spider-Man, the game opened up and it became a completely different thing. And that's the brilliance of really great game design, is when you can play a game and you understand conceptually what the game is supposed to be, and you've played other games like it, and you try to play that game like those other games, and it doesn't work. You don't have success. But then when you like actually listen and stop trying to resist the way the game is supposed to be played, and it really unlocks for you, you know that game design is really good. And that's something that Marathon does incredibly well in the ways that it combines all of these different game types together to create a whole. There we go. We did it, baby. We not only did we solve Marathon's problems, we've explained to the world exactly why you listening right now, should be playing Marathon.
Yeah, and I'm sure we have a very high percentage of listeners who aren't playing Marathon. I think our 30 people are exclusively, not within that 6,000 concurrent user base in Marathon.
You get it to 6,030, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
T-Money, did you have any good runs for the week that you wanted to highlight?
Honestly, I've been spending a lot of time this week playing Halo Campaign Evolved, which came out for a bunch of different platforms. I've been playing it a little bit early with the early access, and I'm going to put together and share some thoughts on that as, the OG Bungie game that probably I think was all of our first introduction to them as a developer. I think we've done a good job covering some good runs from this week, and stay tuned for next episode when I'll have a little bit more of a breakdown of Halo Campaign Evolved as a remake.
Nice. Yeah, well, our main topic for this week is a review of Vault Breakers. Like we said, we've had, it's been 2 weeks since this experimental mode launched. There's a couple days left on it, but it's, I think, a sufficient amount of time to really, put it through its paces as much as we can. Again, I think we're fairly casual players in the grand scheme of things. So, we've done several successful runs. We've done good vaults, but, we've never done Vault 3, or at least I haven't, done that sort of 2 vault run that I think is sort of a built-in part of the mechanic. Just for those 30 people who aren't playing Marathon, who are listening, Vault Breakers is the new PvE experimental mode. It's sort of like a rogue-lite style game where essentially you're doing multiple runs and making incremental progress on building up like a kit that you can take in so that you get a little bit better each run. And the idea, they almost make it sort of like a race. So you're in the Cryo Archive, which is the sort of end game map for Marathon right now. What's interesting about Cryo Archive is that it has all of these various different vaults, which each have sort of a different mechanic. You have to get some batteries, you have to get some cryo coolant, In some cases, you need like a authorization or like an access key. And then the final vault, which is where you fight, arguably the end game boss of the game. You have to get these like DNA sequence codes and do a number of things to actually unlock the vaults themselves. So what Vault Breakers does is it sort of puts you in this PvE mode, and it almost makes it like a little bit of like a race against the clock. How quickly can you do these various items and string together successes that are going to put you into the next vault? So in order to actually make it to the end game boss, you actually have to go from one vault to the next for I think 3 vaults, and you'll get a key at the start for the first vault. Once you break into that first vault, you're going to have a key for another vault, and then from there you break into another one, and then from there you can go fight the final boss called the Compiler. So it's a pretty big change for how the game plays. Obviously, you're taking out the PvP element to it and making it, purely you just playing against the AI bots. But then you're also doing this thing where you're stringing together multiple runs of a various vault. I'm sure players do that. Really high level players might bring in a couple different keys and try to do multiple vaults, or, probably more likely, kill another team that has a key and say, oh, okay, well, let's do both keys, in the normal mode of the game. But that sort of race against the clock attitude is just very, very different than how CryoArchive is normally played. So that's just kind of a summary. Any thoughts y'all have that you want to add to that about Vault Breakers?
Well, I want to say, so in our notes, you call it a roguelite. I think a roguelike is a very apt comparison for this mode, because like you said, you go in with a sponsored kit. That kit is bare bones initially, and as you go in and you're doing all this MacGuffin quests, what you're trying to gain is not the loot that you normally gain in the game, but like points. And when you cash in those points at the end of a successful run, that allows you to buy and add more stuff to your kit, so that when you go into the next run, your kit is better, right? So you start out with a basic shield, but you can earn enough points so you could buy a green shield and then a blue shield and a better gun and more components, so that ultimately, as you continue to play, you can be strong enough to get to the compiler, potentially, and do well. And the other part of that about that is, as you level yourself up, you remain confident that when you go into the game with your next kit, you got all those weapons. That's super super cool, and you get to do it with your friends, right? Like that's really really awesome, unless you're doing it solo, and we'll probably talk about that in a second. The thing for me personally was, when we did Vault Breakers, that was my first time in Cryo. So I guess the question I have for you guys is the Cryo map exactly the same as the Vault Breakers map? Because all of that shit was foreign to me.
Yeah, it's the same map, and I honestly think, to me, the strength, I think it's an interesting mode. I think it's can be a fun mode, but I think the biggest strength of the mode is just giving more casual players who, because there's a buy-in cost in order to even play Cryo, right? You have to be able to put together. You have to put together a good kit of at least 5,000, values. So that means you're, at minimum bringing in like blue shields, blue backpacks, blue guns. Okay. For high-level players, they have a ton of those. They might, not even have stuff that's low level. But for players who are a little more casual, it's actually hard to, have that stuff. You can maybe get 3 or 4 runs a week, and then you're like, okay, I'm out I'm out of my qualifying stuff, or I'm going to bring in my very best stuff and lose it. Like, I don't really want to do that. So I think the biggest strength to me of Vault Breakers is giving you experience to like navigate the map. It's a huge, complicated map. It's a very, very cool map, but like it's easy to get lost there. And also it does take you step by step through the mechanics. And I think this is something that, I would have loved if Bungie had implemented something like this in Destiny, where there was a mode where you could go in and not do a raid, but you could learn the mechanics or practice the mechanics or practice one way of doing it in order to, be prepared for that. At a later date. And I almost think, again, that's the thing that I've appreciated the most about Vault Breakers, is that it gives me a chance to practice the map. It gives me a chance to learn the map without the high stakes thing of like somebody who's been playing this map regularly for 3 months is just going to come in and wipe me within the first 5 minutes,
Yeah, to me, that's really like the lead, and like when you're talking about what makes Vault Breaker unique, like I think that's what they set out to do. So, Stubby Stan, when you load into Cryo Archive, it's like, hey, welcome to Cryo Archive. That's it. There's not like a key sitting there on a pedestal for you. Right. It's not like, hey, go do Vault 1. You just like find a cryo coolant container, and it's not like a thing pops up that's like, go put batteries in the thing and fill this cryo there's just a bunch of shit strewn up, like, and I completely
par for the course for this game.
Yeah, exactly. And I completely agree with Robomantis. Like, this was always the problem with Destiny raids, and this was the problem with Cryo Archive when it came out. We had no idea. I would never have exfilled from Cryo Archive once if it weren't for Robomantis watching a bunch of videos of other people figuring out and doing Cryo Archive and being there with me to know how to exfil. I mean, he was like, okay, we got to go activate the thing, and then the exfil's going to appear in like this different place. It's just like all the rules are different with no explanation, right? And like that to me is not fun. And so I was really excited for Vault Breakers, and I think it has completely succeeded in this aspect as a way to, like, we talked about the guided raids or guided parties or whatever idea with Destiny before, as like a way to handle that, of just like, teach me what the F I am supposed to do when I load in to Cryo Archive, right? And I just, there's no way I would have ever organically figured this out, like losing gear each time, and like actually going through Cryo Archive. So I think in that way, for me, it's like a total like 100% success. Like, I really like that I understand the mechanics of how to open a couple vaults now, and I like have had a chance to explore every part of the map, I think, pretty much. I know where like the much talked about by Durandal like hatch is now, and all that is like cool. For me, the problem with this has been the problem with every raid in Destiny. Like, you called it the MacGuffin hunt, right, Stubby Stan? Like, because you're running around, and it's not like, it doesn't feel like you are working as a team to open a vault. It feels like you are working as a team to accomplish this totally arbitrary checklist 100%. Of random things. I do not find it fun to run around looking for security tags and batteries. And like, maybe if you called them something cool, like it would be slightly better. Like, nothing could be more boring than to go around looking for batteries. I mean, what is even powering our runner shells? Like, can't we just plug? What, you need some juice? Like, don't we have that? Like, what's going on here? Like, what are we doing? But and then like the security tag thing, and then like at one point, Robomantis, you're like, oh, like from watching people online, the way to like really get a bunch of stuff done in Vault Breaker is to kind of like avoid fighting and kind of like do laps and like look for security tags and batteries so you can unlock the stuff, because fighting slows you down.
Right.
Like, really? Like, that's what I want. Like, I don't want to log in on a Saturday afternoon to avoid robots in a non-stealth game and run around opening chests and hope that there's a battery inside so that I can accumulate them to put them in MacGuffin B, to fill up MacGuffin C, to put that in MacGuffin D. I mean, it's cool that I know how the mechanics work, and it's really cool that they get you working as a team to do stuff, right? And there's these moments when things are clicking, and you're like, okay, you got this, right? You're holding off the robots, right? I got this thing. Let's do it. Okay, perfect. We did it with 10 seconds. Like, that is a really cool feeling, right?
Right.
But the road to get there, being just running around looking for I mean, it is just, it's a huge disappointment. It's like a bitter disappointment to me that this is the best thing that Marathon has to offer. And that this is clearly what they have settled on, right? As the way to do their high-end content. I mean, it's a bitter disappointment to me.
Would it make it different if they called it a raid?
I've never enjoyed a raid like in my life, and I get that that's my thing, and that other people do enjoy them, right? But it's just the promise of working. That's not true. I've enjoyed like Vault of Glass when we've done it successfully, and like once you know what's going on. I have never enjoyed figuring out a raid.
That part, right?
And I almost wonder, again, like it's what makes this feel like it's not its own like full mode. What I immediately go to is like, okay, but if we're playing the real version of Cryo, does some of that get eliminated because when you kill other runners, you take their security tags, right? You take their batteries. So you're not having to run laps around the map. You're trying to engage tactically in a couple PvP encounters and then get out as quickly as possible because, just by playing the game in that PvP sort of angle for a couple rounds, you're able to accomplish what you need. Now, I think the strength of this game is that, like, in every map, you kind of have the option to choose PvP versus PvE. So I would like there to be a better solution for people who do want to go in and play Cryo, and try to just avoid the other runners. But yeah, I agree. It's almost like that element isn't there where you can just sort of avoid the PvP in the real game mode and still have something that feels fun and successful. And, I don't know what that looks like, but I don't think it's just doing the normal map and not having other runners there,
They've got to figure out. So like Cryo is their end game content, right? So that's ultimately any ensuing seasons until they add, another piece of end game content. We're all going to be winding up like it's always going to be the road to Cryo. But like where I do think, to go back to what we were talking about before, is what I do think they can do is add more levels to Cryo in Vault Breakers as as some paid content that will allow you to get some new stuff that you could potentially bring into your PvP, into the main game, in quotes, that would incentivize people to want to check out that content and therefore pay the money. That I think would be cool. Yeah, Ty.
Yeah, I agree with you on the one hand, but on the other hand, like, I am also deeply concerned already about the fact that so Vault Breaker splits the universe, right? Like, the whole point of these games is that you have one set of gear and it works on other humans and it works on other runners, and it works on robots. And there's different game modes where you encounter those things differently, but like that's the whole core idea. In this game, I feel like already kind of the game mode, Vault Breaker already kind of breaks that core continuity by you can pick up awesome gear doing a Vault Breaker run, but you can't exfil any of it. All you can exfil is the points or the whatever that you mentioned earlier, the currency. It's like Vault data or something like that, which, like, yeah, that's super clear. And like you can spend a certain kind of Vault data if it's the right tier on stuff that you can take into the normal game, but not and so they have a real problem on their hands with how do you expand PvE while keeping the core kind of premise and concept of the game intact. And if it's just like you can grind a bunch of PvE, get a bunch of this script and spend it on a gold thing or like a biotoxic disinjector and bring it, that is exactly what people are going to do, so I don't know. It's a huge I don't know what the answer is, but
so I think so conceptually, or at least theoretically, you're absolutely right, but I think the game type, the genre of game this is, allows for that type of stuff, the stuff that I'm talking about, to be okay, right? Where if you've got some ultimate weapon or core component or something like that that is only available in Vault Breakers that you can extract and use, you now either have it in your inventory, you have it in your locker, right? And you can look at it as a trophy, or you can bring it out and risk it being lost to you, right? So then as a PvP player who hasn't bought the DLC, I know that there's a chance that I could be facing a runner who has that weapons, has that weapons or whatever that special content is, that I could then kill and acquire. So
Yeah.
so now, right? It's not like having that kind of stuff hidden behind a paywall in other games where you can bring it out and now you have this competitive advantage over people, until it equalizes or until it gets nerfed. You've got this competitive advantage as long as you're able to extract with it again. And if somebody stops you and gains access to it, now they have it.
Yeah, and right now the way it works, so like if you do, and I want to be very clear, like T-Money, you use the word grind, and I think that's very, very apt for the experience of Vault Breakers. Like it feels like a grind, like it feels
Right.
like a Destiny grind in a way where you're just like doing the same thing over and over again. You're running Vault 1 and Vault 2 over and over and over again, just trying to build to, level up your kit, and collect enough of that currency that, maybe you can take stuff out. I think that's kind of a unique thing. Roguelites or roguelikes don't always feel that way. I think the really good ones, it's more about like, yes, you are doing the slow build, but you're also kind of doing a build within the run itself. Like you're establishing like, oh, this is the weapon I'm using for this run. So and this is like a close combat weapon. So I'm going to build stuff about getting in really close to people. I'm going to build stuff about like, not taking melee damage, but delivering melee damage. Or every time I do a melee kill, my character moves a little bit faster for 1 second. And like, that piece is still missing from Vault Breakers. Like it doesn't feel like an in-game build where you're really like customizing things and changing stuff. It feels like, yes, you there can be purple weapon drops that you get early in the game that maybe you sort of strategize around that, but you're not building your character in that same way. It feels to me like you're running a 30-minute level over and over and over again, just trying to build up enough currency to then, do more in the next run, in a way that I don't think is entirely successful as its own kind of separate mode.
Yeah, the purple weapon drops that you sometimes encounter early on are part of the problem. Like in a real roguelike, like it's split into rooms or whatever, and it's very structured. Yeah. So like they can give things to you incrementally, and you see them trying to do this where when you get into a vault, there's a bunch of purple stuff everywhere that you can take, and if you decide to go for the next vault, now you've got a bunch of purple stuff.
Right.
The problem is you can sometimes encounter purple stuff and plenty of blues early on as you're making your way to the first vault, which throws the whole value proposition of like upgrading your Vault Breaker kit like into question. It's right. It's very unclear. Like, do I want to spend my vault data or whatever on upgraded weapons? Because honestly, half the time I'm encountering better weapon, right? It's going to take me 2 or 3 upgrades to get to the point where I'm consistently bringing in weapons that are better than what I'm finding in the very first room. So, I know it's experimental and stuff like that, and that's obviously a balancing thing, but it is just pretty clear that they're kind of like trying to strap on a new way of playing to this game that wasn't really built for it. Right. I am super curious what they're going to, what the season 3 more fully fleshed out version of this or version of PvE that they have is going to look like for all these reasons.
So speaking of a new way of playing, has anybody played Vault Breakers single player?
Yes.
Who's soloed it, and how different is the solo version of Vault Breakers from going in as a full running crew?
So I picked up and played starting solos one night, and I found it impossible. I was consistently dying in the first room, whereas when I had been playing trios, I was consistently getting to the first vault and opening it. Right. A lot of times not exfilling or getting into the vault like barrier, but right. But I did do some back-to-back. I did like switch it back and forth from trios to solos a couple of times. And I mean, just the big difference is the aggression and like how much damage your headshots do, like the critical damage or whatever. It's not as big of an adjustment as I felt like it needed. They do seem to like throw a blue backpack at you a little more often in solos, which is helpful because then you can take out more of the data. But like, I don't know. I get to that final room and I'm just like, there's all this data here, and now I have to drop all. Like, what are we like? What is the point of this? You know what I mean? Like, I got the thing. Just let me like.
Right. Let me
like,
take the stuff out.
Like,
right.
if I can,
Yeah.
Put it in my pocket.
Yeah, like it should at least stack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What about you, Robomantis? Did you do any solo Vault Breakers?
I played so yeah, it's weird. Like Monny at the start. So for context, in the very first week, there wasn't a dedicated solos queue for Vault Breakers. It was, you can just turn on crew fill. So you always sort of defaulted to trios, but if you could turn off crew fill and, you're just one player or just two players. One player I thought in trios in that initial week was really, really difficult. Like, I didn't have the same thing that Monny's talking about where he could consistently make it to a vault. Like, maybe it was just the shells I was using or something like that, but like I was routinely dying in the first room. I don't think that changed significantly in the solo mode. And I don't know, regardless, it just like I got very burned out on Vault Breakers. Like, I probably played, 10 or 12 hours of it. And again, like it's the first time where it really did start to feel like I'm just grinding. Like I'm playing this not because I want to jump into this mode and I think it's really fun. Like I want to go open Vault 2 again. It was more just like, I'm doing this because I want to make progress on my kit. So like maybe in a few days, like I can have a better kit and try to do Vault 3. Right. And yeah, that grind is something that I haven't really felt in Marathon. Even though you are building stuff up, it doesn't really feel like you're just going in, apart from maybe like trying to complete some contracts that have been really brutal. Like, it hasn't really felt like you're just going in and you're doing something that you don't want to do or that you're like not enthusiastic about doing just to try to level up, a kit and make a little bit of progress. And that to me has been probably the most disappointing thing is like, I don't want to have my relationship to Marathon to be about a grind. Like, it was something that we've talked about so much in this game is, and in the show is like, it's sort of like the joy of like, everything's kind of temporary. It's the joy of like, yeah, like, you have one good run and maybe you have this like awesome, upgrade in your kit, or you have a terrible run and you lose something great, but like nothing is like permanent. There are these kind of big swings. And the idea of Marathon having a mode where it's about holding on to stuff. It's sort of about like making this incremental progress in a way that feels like possessive or like owner, like you own things or you're quote unquote earning things. Like that just doesn't appeal to me whatsoever, especially not for Marathon.
So Vault Breakers, is the consensus that we're, is it thumbs up, thumbs down, or is it like thumbs somewhere in the middle on Vault Breakers?
I think it's a nice first step. I will be very curious to see how this might really change things. Again, I think to make this like a full, engaging, satisfying PvE mode, they're going to have to put a lot of work into that. And I worry about what is the trade-off to the main mode. Does this become a situation, famously like Fortnite, their battle royale mode like took off in a way that, that wasn't the original mode of the game. And now it's like the only thing in the game. Is that what they're trying to do? To make the PvE mode the only mode of the game. If that's the case, we'll see where it goes. But like, I think it's an interesting step. I hope people are enjoying it. But I do worry about, are they sort of being at cross purposes now, trying to run these two different modes rather than just, committing to this one really good mode that they already have.
Team Money, so is it thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle for us for you on Vault Breakers?
You can't go around assigning value judgments to everything. It's like it's like El Nino, it's just sometimes rivers just change their course.
Right.
It's going to wipe out some things. It's going to start new life other places. I think, to me, I would say my succinct answer is Vault Breakers has been almost a complete success at what they have set out to do with it. I agree it's a little bit incomplete and stuff like that. It does feel like experimental, but I think it's a really successful swing at that experimental mode. I think, to me, it's just revealed that the thing that it is sort of a dry run for, right? Like the thing that they set out to do was teach you how to do cryo. I think they have largely succeeded in that. I do not think doing cryo is fun. So it's hard to know, where to put my thumb, like what angle to put it.
That was one suggestion, but what about our one of our favorite features of the week of the show, and that's the Marathon Developer Suggestion of the Week. What do you have for that, Timani?
This is not about Vault Breaker. This is just about the normal Marathon mode. But to have areas on each map where you can go, and if you're down, you can be revived by some kind of automated process or whatever, some kind of drone. This would make a loud noise. It would be like, it would make you visible to other people on the map. But if you find yourself in a situation where you've been downed by like UESC, or like the best would be, there are rare occasions where, as Robomantis, this is possibly what happened in your running story, where people will down each other, right? Like two runners will down one another. The hijinks that would ensue if they're like crawl racing to go get revived by this like thing, and then everyone hears it, and it's like, oh, two people, right? It's great. It writes itself. So I would love to see some like some revival stations scattered around different parts of the map.
That would be good.
And it would create the strategic, right? If you're alone, if you're low on health, you can kind of make sure that you stay within a crawlable radius of one of those. Obviously, a lot of times you're not going to make it. You're going to get finished off. But there are times when you're down but not out, and you just can't really do anything. Even if you can activate an exfil, you're probably not, unless you have a triage drone by chance, you're probably not going to make it to that exfil. So, yeah, healing stations scattered around the maps. That is my developer suggestion of the week.
I like that. That's there are other games in other genres have implemented things like that. I think about like Battlefield's Battle Royale mode has a station where you can revive lost teammates, and it does that same kind of thing. There's an alert that everybody knows you've got to stay in that space for a little bit of time.
Reviving a lost teammate, that would be like a jailbreak type of thing. Right.
So it's one of those things, but that's but like the risk reward is kind of inherently built into the mechanic, and I think that's awesome.
I love it. Next week, we are going to take a little bit of a look at lore, not actually diving into the lore itself, but more about the structure of the lore. So we're very excited to talk about that, how they've decided to, dole out the story in the game as it exists. And then T-Money is going to be giving us an update on Halo Campaign Evolved. That is it for us for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. There is a little donation link if you want to support this project. Go ahead, give us a like on YouTube, rate us 5 stars on Spotify, wherever you're taking a look at us. You can find T. Monny and Stubby Stan as panelists on Discovery Debrief, which is returning for Season 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. That's got to be coming out pretty soon, right? I know the season just started.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, remember, runners, marathon is dying, and so are